Hello, fellow listeners. Good afternoon. Hello, wherever you are at this moment. Once again, we are very happy to have another STEM talk this afternoon. Our guest is Miss Beth Henning. So we will be asking her some questions about the many things she's doing in STEM, which is the acronym that stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Hello, Beth. Good
Hello.
afternoon, and welcome to Geazle STEM Network. So, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
So, you are doing great. It is awesome to have you. So, I do know that you are a great STEM proponent, and our talk today is going on to focus around science, technology, and mathematics. So,
One of my favorite
today,
subjects.
I'm sorry again. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's my favorite subject.
Your favorite subject?
Yes.
Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm sorry I didn't hear you very well. So anyhow, I have the first question for you. Is that okay if I call you by Beth or Miss Henning?
That is fine.
Okay. Okay, Beth. Welcome to Gizo STEM Network. It is a great pleasure to speak with you today. So, you and I share a great passion for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What does STEM mean to you in your STEM story?
So, I think maybe back in middle school when I took wood shop and home ec, that's probably where I started to get a little bit interested. Um, Wood shop is not exactly STEM, but back in those days, drawing wooden blocks and the shapes sort of got me started and interested. And in home economics, the project-based learning aspect of it was very valuable to me. In high school, I took computer programming, which at that point, dating myself a little bit, was data processing the punch cards. And so I didn't really think that was such a great idea or that would take off at all. So not a lot of direction out of high school. My family wasn't well off. So I joined the Air Force. And 10 years later, I discovered that there was this thing called engineering. So I decided to get an electrical engineering degree. And that went very well. I was able to have a career with civil service and worked for Air Force Research Lab in my internship and a little bit of time with the F-16 program, a group military sales, which was awesome, a great job. My husband is military or was military at the time though, so we got orders and we moved. Fast forwarding, I ended up here in Niceville, Florida, and yes, it is very nice, and got interested in STEM education. There are lots of opportunities here for learning robotics and 3D printing, and I was asked to help start a STEM education program for a new startup called Doolittle Institute. And I enjoyed that very much, but then fast forwarding again, I did some special projects for them, but then it was time to start my own business. So now I'm an entrepreneur, and I own STEMworks along with my husband.
Perfect. That is so good. So I was wondering, Beth, do you have any earpiece by any chance? It appears that there is this feedback loop coming like an echo. I was wondering, are you listening directly to your speakers to some extent?
Let me put in my headphones. That will probably help.
So that may help a little bit. So this is a little part of our technical situation when it comes
How's
to
that?
using our technology.
Is
Perfect.
that better?
Thank you so much. So You briefly mentioned STEM Works, so which is basically an educational program that you created to promote, to stimulate interest in STEM. Could you please tell us more about it and how fellow STEMers can get in touch with you?
Sure. So when I worked for Doolittle Institute, I started a regional area for First Lego League robotics, and fell in love with it. It actually changed my life, is just as much as some of the kids. And so when it was time to venture out on my own, I really wanted to do something for students in areas that couldn't get to STEM education. Maybe their schools didn't provide it. Maybe there weren't any after-school activities that they could get involved in. And so I'm still in the process of working with that. There's some agencies in rural Northwest Florida that I've formed relationships. But the STEMWorks itself mostly does STEM education events out of our mobile lab, basically. So we bring STEM to students. One of our biggest activities every year. We just finished up in January at Daytona International Speedway, and we brought our aerodynamics activity to the Scouts. So there's a program called Scout Days at the racetrack, and we brought aerodynamics. We talked about wind tunnel testing and how that's important for racing. We also talked about 3D printing and how they do prototyping on scale models, but then also now they're 3D printing actual parts for race cars. So it's very important to understand how the mathematics, all the curves of the body of the race cars contribute to downforce and drag in order to figure out the aerodynamic efficiency of those cars. And we also brought a couple of other interesting activities, including our robotic kitten build to a special session with the Girl Scouts.
That is so awesome. So your work is amazing. So I hope fellow STEMers listening out there, those who are interested in becoming a STEMer, and I believe that your program is so awesome. So, and I truly believe what you are doing with the wind tunnel, so which is basically a horizontal wind tunnel. So I have done a similar work with a vertical wind tunnel as far as in skydiving is concerned, which is pretty good stuff. So talking about terminal velocity, drag, force, gravity, and so on, which is pretty cool stuff. So the moment that we do this kind of things, it is so much fun. We are doing those things every day, but unfortunately, many do not realize the applications of our STEM in our daily life. So the next question I have for you, Beth, is the fact that when it comes down to stereotypes, and they are everywhere, what are some stereotypes about STEM and how we can challenge them?
That's a really good question. I think that in some areas, some of the stereotypes are just being dissolved, and that's great. Not in all areas, absolutely. But I think we're making a lot of progress. The government's putting forth a lot of funding towards STEM activities, and a lot of people are doing a lot of things very similar to what I'm doing, and just going out there, and in many cases, I just volunteer. But the typical stereotype you think of with STEM would be the male with maybe glasses that can't talk in front of a crowd. And that's just not the case in a lot of areas now. More girls are getting involved in STEM education. Our robotics teams, they were at 30%, and the percentage is gaining every year because girls are just really enjoying the project-based learning, the problem solving, the critical thinking that's involved with robotics, and some of our other activities that the science. Girls are really getting into science fair now, and in a lot of cases, they're actually outperforming boys especially at the middle school level.
Wow. So I hope everyone is listening and everyone is taking note. So, as you know, when we talk about STEM, it is always in terms of the students. So, how can we stimulate the interest of our STEM fields so that our students and parents explore the possibilities of STEM on what they do every day?
I think getting the word out and showing them how much they can learn, how much it can benefit them, and how fun it is. Because a lot of people, especially several years ago, said, I don't know anything about this robotics program you have in Northwest Florida. I've never heard of it. And now we're getting the word out. It's becoming more prevalent. I'm involved as a volunteer now, and I love it. The students are learning leadership. They're learning teamwork. They're obviously learning to control robots and build robots. They're learning about servos and sensors. And when you make it simple enough and give students the resources and help them find the answers for themselves, then they enjoy it so much more. And especially when you give them ownership. If you are the type of teacher that will pull the project out of the hands of the student, then you probably don't belong in STEM. What you want to do is you want to be the type of teacher who asks them questions. You give them their initial training, the foundational training. You make sure that they have the resources they need, and then you step back and you ask them questions. That's the best way for students to learn.
Thank you for the answer, and thank you for this good elaboration on such question. So, when we talk about STEM, so oftentimes it is referred to formal learning. So we go to an institution, we take a specific subject, we study, we learn about it over the years. So what is your thought process or processes when it comes down to STEM informal learning?
So again, just sort of stemming off my last answer, making sure they have the resources, asking them questions. But one thing that I've used with the over 50 interns that I've mentored, both formal and informal, over the last, I guess it's been 8 years, I have them blog. When they create a blog every week, there's a format. They talk about the problems that they're running. Well, first of all, they start with their goals. Then they talk about problems that they've run into and options that they've used to solve those problems, and then what the final solution was. And this way they're keeping a record for themselves of what the solution was. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I find a solution and a month later I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it a link to a special software, or was it a different way of a different process? And by blogging, they also have a portfolio for future employers or college applications. I have them insert a picture, whether it's a screen print or a picture of the project itself. And it's really been a great method for them to systematically record their project and what they've learned.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now it comes down to our last question for the day, for now. So I hope that you and I have many STEM talk in the future.
Sure.
So to talk about the many things that we are passionate about, the many things that we do, because STEM fields are very important for the sustainability of the future. So you have been doing this over the years, and I have been doing this as well. Based on your experience, what is your message to fellow STEMers watching and listening today?
I'd say the first thing is make yourself an expert in something. Pick something that you love to do, whether it's computer programming or robotics or 3D printing, and go out and research and find out how can I do this better. Go through the tutorials and make sure that you are going through them completely. Don't skip around. Just go through them all, learn them all. And what happens when you make yourself an expert is people come to you and they know that you have the answer, or at least you know where to find the